Okay, there I am live. Should be started now. And since I don't have to go to work tonight, I have something to drink along the line. Here's to you. It's a nice bourbon, just to warm things up. It's going to be chilly tonight. It's going to be our first really good widespread hard freeze. We've had a little frost here and there, getting down to 30, 31. But tonight's supposed to get down to about 25. It's going to be kind of a widespread, a good hard freeze, kill everything off finally. When it gets down to 30 or so, it'll kill any newer growth, but the more harder your stuff will survive. But yeah, when it gets down to 25, that pretty much puts the kibosh on everything. And I got my hibiscus tree all repotted. I made it a new pot out of a 55-gallon plastic drum. Cut it in half, drilled holes in the bottom, flipped the one half over and set it into the other half, nested them together, cut a couple little square windows in the bottom part so the water can drip through, and it's got its own catch tray, for any excess water that drips through. And you got holes in there so that can dry out underneath, and end up with, 10 gallons of stagnant, nasty water underneath your tree. I got that all done. The wood's all put up and on the wagon and loaded. All I got left to do as far as wood goes is back the trailer up to the porch, and I'm in business. Got to clear the stove off, get that ready to go. I should be able to get away without any real heat tonight. Just run the electric heater in the bathroom to take the chill off. But it's going to warm up pretty good here over the next few days. It'll be in the 60s, so I don't quite need the stove yet, but it's definitely time to get everything set up and running. I got a couple of new things I wanted to show you, and we'll get a little better look at those old waffle irons I got the other week. I got them kind of cleaned up. They need a little bit more time in the lye bath, but you can definitely see them a lot better, and pretty interesting. So keeps my house nice for a dude. Well, I keep all the mess off camera as best as I can. And if I ever get that stove cleaned off, it'll look a lot cleaner. It's one of the biggest secrets of cleaning something off. If you clear off the horizontal surfaces, I mean, if you got the counters empty, you got don't have pans piled on the stove. If you clear off all of the horizontal surfaces, nothing on the tables, even if the place is a mess, there's crap all over the floor, it looks nasty, it looks a lot cleaner than it actually is. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I don't know how the illusion quite works, but if you clear all the counters off, clear off the tables, doesn't matter what's on the floor, everything looks clean. It's just kind of a weird thing. But anyhow, let me go back here and say hi to some people. We got Dan, JIR Finishes, Billy Lee, good to see you. Chris Salverson. Hopefully everybody who's in the southwest southeast corner of the U.S. is doing better tonight than they have been. Getting dug out from all the storms and hurricanes. It's going to take quite a while to get everything cleaned up and get back to normal, but hopefully people are finally getting to where get your lights back on and get things reasonably under control again. Cowgirl Jewel, good to see you. Might have some snow in Colorado. Yeah, you get that up in the mountains. Yammy, the cute bun, nice to see you, Yammy. It's raining where you're at, so you're getting some dishes done, heating up some chili. Ah, cool. Not a big chili fan. I mean, some chili I like. I don't really care for beans in it too much. A few is all right, but, sometimes it's just a thing. Handsome Stone, I said hi to Chris Alverson, Becky G. Hog Wild, he's here. Billy Lee, Mark Cyber, Farm Boy, good to see you. Chris McGee. Iron, yes, there's going to be some iron tonight. Cast iron restore, rusty iron. Chris Solberson back up here. Raymond, Corey Clark, good to see you guys. Rick Green, always a pleasure. Did I see me and you Acres got their wood cook stove fired up? Yeah, I did. I saw that. And, it's nice to see that. I kind of, when they were first looking for a new stove, I did a little bit of research and tracked down some places in their areas that sold stoves. You can get new wood cook stoves. They're better than they used to be. They're more airtight. They're a lot more efficient as far as a heater goes. I mean, this thing isn't terribly airtight. It won't hold a fire very long. Loses a lot of heat. And the new ones are UL listed, so it's a lot easier for your for insurance purposes. The old vintage stoves are nice. They work great, but insurance companies can give you a hassle on them sometimes, depending on how they're installed, especially. But the new ones, I mean, yeah, you can get yourself a brand new wood cook stove, and they work pretty good. Gary Henning, good to see you. Let's see here. I think I saw Gary got himself some new stuff. Yeah, there it is, a 10-inch Lodge Dutch oven, a number 7 Wapak, and a number 8 and 10 BSR. Pretty rusty and crusty, but they cleaned up nice. Cynthia Wesley, she's trying to repot plants. Let me get back to where the comments are now. Saw a TV commercial for Smithy Ironware last night. It's out of my ballpark. It ain't bad, but or maybe I think, yeah, it's Smithy I'm thinking of. It's real smooth. I mean, it's a little too smooth, in my opinion. But they are nice looking pans. Mash the beans in your chili for the bean haters. They never know the difference. Yeah, if they're squashed up, they'll mix right in. You hardly notice them, as long as you don't have a bunch of bean hulls in there. But anyway, I think I'm pretty well caught up. One big one here. Cynthia. Okay. Got caught up. Beans help you terrorize the wife. Hey, you got a large logo 12-inch Griswold. Cool. Griswolds are nice to find. I got a couple of new things. Actually, there's 3 of them. It was all together in a bunch. That's over here. They all came together as one. There's a number 8 Wagner, but it's cracked, and I can see that it was right in the pictures. You can see the crack there alongside the handle. And you can just see her on the inside. But I knew it was cracked. And, giving cast iron a tap is a good way to find cracks usually. That rings pretty good. Doesn't sound too bad. But something else you have to do sounds pretty good like that. But if you hold it lightly by the other edge and tap the handle, you can hear that really sounds dead. There's no ring to it. And that'll really show up if you have a crack near the handle or near the pour spouts. Tap them in both spots. You'll get a little better result. Even so, once in a while, you'll still get a crack that slips past you. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Sometimes you don't see them. Why are they cracked near the handle so often? Mostly getting dropped. I mean, they'll get dropped on the handle, and it gives it more leverage right there on the sidewall. How does everyone feel about turning cracked pans into spatulas? I'm not against it, especially if it's cracked beyond repair and you can't really do anything to fix it. I'd hate to see something that was either repairable or still usable or uncracked, cut up for a spatula. But and most of them, the logo's on the opposite side from the handle, so it's a great big long spatula. It works great on a griddle or a Blackstone grill, something like that. But for using it in a pan, it's kind of useless when it's as big as the pan that you're trying to use it in. But anyway, the other 2 things that came with it. First was this aluminum pot. See if you can guess who made that. Not a fan of cast iron spatulas. Yeah, like I say, I mean, They're nice for a big flat grill, but they're kind of useless in a pan. Anyway, that is a Griswold. That's an old 3-quart saucepan, Griswold cast aluminum. That's number A23. Erie, PA. It's made in the 30s, and it's got a nice wooden handle on it. I want to see if I can get that off, hopefully without breaking it, and see if I can refinish that handle. Yes, that is a Griswold. And the inside of the lid is marked, all kinds of markings on that. It's got your patent dates on there. And the Erie, PA, self-basting. That's your lid for it. And like I said, it's a nice little 3-quart saucepan. That'll clean up nice. I'll get that all shined up. See if I can, like I say, refinish that handle. It's got a wooden knob that looks like pretty much like a original knob. I might try and copy that just for the hell of it, if I can get it off without causing any problems. See if I can reproduce that knob just for kind of a practice thing. I helped a friend with his trash business, cleared out an old abandoned house, scored a favorite Cookware breadstick pan. Cool. 6 drops, nice to see you. Always good to see you, dearie. But yeah, I'll get that cleaned up one of these days. It's not a real high priority. I'm still working on getting my lathe set up and some other side things that need to be set up with it. But over the winter, I'll get to play around with that. But the thing that I was really trying to get in that lot of stuff is this. That's a Wagner Ware round griddle, and it appeals to both of my weaknesses for cast iron. First, it's nickel plated, and second, it's hammered. Once you get that crud off there, you'll be able to see the hammer marks a lot nicer. And it looks like the plating is in pretty decent shape. I mean, you can see it kind of showing through the grease on the surface. But once I get this, get that in the lye bath, that should be in pretty good shape once she's cleaned up. And I'm tickled to have it. I've been looking for a hammered griddle for a while. And like I say, I love nickel plated stuff. Speaking of which, I got some over here that I'll get to in just a minute. Let me reorganize all this stuff. I got all of this stuff, well, except the one thing. This is all in one lot, except for this. This is that pan I was so intrigued by. It had the really stubby little handle on it. Finally got her out of the lye bath. And it did reveal a couple of secrets. You can see right there it says number 8. Unfortunately, it also revealed the fact that it has a crack in it. Didn't see the crack at all until it was cleaned up. And again, this is one that rings pretty good until you do that and you can hear kind of a buzzy noise to it. That usually shows a crack, but couldn't see it before. And it's a shame, but I can probably fix that up. And I wonder, I've seen that kind of style of number 8 once in a while. I wonder if that isn't an Ironton or an Iron Age, the company that made Iron Age skillets. I'm pretty sure they use that style. Well, it's usually the other way around, like a regular skillet. Still not exactly sure who made it, but it's a pretty cool pan. I'll see if I can get it fixed up one of these days. But it's definitely an intriguing little pan. Now, the rest of the stuff I all got in 2 batches. First, that's a plated number 8 Wagner. The plating's not in the best of shape. I'll take some steel wool to it and clean it up a bit. But it came with the one I was after, and that's that number 7 Wagner Ware smooth bottomed one. You see the 7 on the handle there. Get that cleaned up real nice. It's going to have a little bit of rust there on the inside that's still got to come off. Might end up with just a little tiny bit of pitting in one spot, but it's pretty good shape otherwise. Out of curiosity, would you be able to tell any pan apart even without the trade stamps? Yeah, some of them are, pretty well known unmarked pans. A lot of the most of the Lodge skillets don't have a name on them, and you can tell they're Lodge because they have a heat ring and notches in the heat ring usually. Uh, Wagner made a lot of unmarked skillets where this would say like 9.5 inch skillet across the bottom, and that's it, but there's no trademark on them. BSR, Birmingham Stove and Range, those didn't have a name on them, but they got a distinctive handle. There's lots of ways you can tell unmarked things. That numbering looks like your Iron Age chicken fryer. That's what I was thinking. I mean, it looks a lot like Iron Age. There's some Canadian skillets that use kind of a similar, the abbreviation N with a small zero and the number. It could be a Canadian, could be. I was thinking it might be made by the same company that made Iron Age, because I think they made a couple of brands, Iron Age and one under their actual name. I forget who they were, but they're out of Ironton, Tennessee, I think. But anyway, yeah, definitely possible to be an Iron Age. Let's see here. Very nice hammer griddle. Yeah, I'm really hoping that comes out nice when I get her out of the lye bath. Looks like it should. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of wear on that plating. You still see swirl marks in it. So I think that's going to be pretty nice. Found one of them too this past weekend, but it isn't hammered or plated. Yeah, they're a little tougher to find, the hammered ones and the plated ones. And tickled to death that I found it. But anyway, there's those two. Those set out of the way. And we'll take a little closer look at those old Griswold waffle irons. That's the acorn hinge one. You can see it's a lot like the ball hinge, but it's got that kind of ridge around it. And they call that an acorn hinge. It's pretty similar to the ball type hinge. Take it apart. And now that's a bit cleaned up, you can see the numbers on it. Number 9, there's the pattern number 979 on it. Fits 9 and 10. That's the size of the eye in your stove that'll fit. And it, you can see the patent date. That's 1901, May 21st, May 14th, 1901. So that's when they started making these. So this is, early 1900s. I think the next patent date on them, they went with the slant logo, Griswold, and they was 1910. I think was 1910 or 1908. I forget exactly which. But there's the other side, Griswold Manufacturing, the New American, Erie, PA. Cleaned up pretty good. Still got some crustiness in between the knobs on the waffle iron. I'll give them a little bit more time in the lye bath when I get done here. But for first cleaning, that definitely cleaned up pretty nice. And then there's this one. This is that button hinged one. It's got a little chunk out of the button, but other than that, it's in real nice shape. This is a number 8, and you can see patented June 23rd, 1880. This is a really old one. This is way back to the start. I got a cat coming in. Where are you going, you silly beast? Way back to the start of Griswold. There's the back side of it, the American Griswold Manufacturing, Erie, PA. And that cleaned up pretty good. Still got some rust on it, but not too bad. Not going to have any real pitting to it once I get her cleaned up. I don't think. Maybe a little tiny bit on the inside in that upper corner. But that'll go back in the lye. We'll get that cleaned back up. Like I said, this is a number 8, and I have a number 9 base for it. But yeah, that's a very early Griswold. That goes right back to pretty much the start of the Griswold company. At the time, they're still. This is right after they were Griswold and Selden. But yeah, that's definitely an old one. So I am tickled to death to have that one. And I got to cheap. All four of those 2 Wagner skillets and those 2 waffle irons came to like $110 for all of them. So $25 a piece is a pretty damn good price, especially for the waffle irons and for the number 7 Wagner, because apart from the 3s and 5s, which are real common, the odd numbered smooth bottom Wagners, the marked ones, are pretty scarce, actually. And I didn't know that until the last few months here, but went and looked in the book just to see what the prices were on them, and yeah, there's a big jump between a number 6 and number 8, and the number 7 in the middle is a hell of a lot more expensive, so they're definitely a lot more rare. You haven't found anything, so thankfully you can go towards the new stove. Let's see here, get caught up again. Now I'm done blathering. Foster, yeah, that was the company. They made the Foster line and made Iron Age cast iron. Could be one of them. Could be Canadian, could be something entirely different, I guess, but they are pretty nice. Watching a Wagner griddle on Goodwill. Could have ended by now. I forgot to check. Yeah, you can, the big rectangular griddles, prices are kind of all over on them. Some of them, go a lot cheaper than what they should. Griswold, of course, is going to cost more than anything else, but I see a lot of Wagner and a lot of the unmarked Lodge and BSR, big rectangular griddles go for pretty decent price. I mean, usually you can find those for, anywhere from $30 to $50. Where, marked Wagner and Griswold, you're looking more 75 on up to over 100 sometimes for the Griswold ones. There's an old Griswold waffle maker with a circular waffle pattern going for over 300. Yeah, they if I had bases for both of these, I mean the button hinge ones with a base, those pretty typically go for well over 300. And not quite as bad for the acorn hinged ones. The acorn hinge will work on a regular base. I'm not sure if the original base to it was the same as kind of the standard Griswold base, but it does work on that. But yeah, the acorn ones, I'm not quite sure what they go for, but they usually go fairly high too, a lot more than just a regular Griswold. Found a 10-inch 1109 round griddle and a Wagner made in USA 11 1/4 inch round griddle, $40 for the pair. Yeah, I think this one is a where did I put it? Down here. I think this is an 1109, but it's a like just right there. It's an HS 1109. Their most of their nickel plated stuff had an S prefix, and the H, I'm assuming, is hammered. So where's Kitty Night? She was just here a second ago. Don't know where she went. Got a surprise attack. But yeah, the cat was just here a minute ago. Probably people had a waffle base and didn't know what it was for. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know what it was for, you'd kind of wonder, what's this cast iron ring thing for? But if you've never seen a cast iron waffle iron, yeah, you wouldn't necessarily know what it was right offhand. Corey, have you emptied your tank for the winter? Yeah, I got to dump my electrolysis tank here probably this weekend. I mean, it'll be cold tonight. It'll skim over with a little ice, I'm sure, but that won't hurt nothing. Yours is 1109A. Yeah, the A would be the pattern letter for that particular pattern. But if I remember right, most of their, or at least a lot of their nickel plated stuff had an S prefix to it. Hostile Hooves just gave me $2. That was nice of you, Hooves. What type of steel wool should I use before the dishwasher? Steel wool works good on cast iron. This basic SOS pad. Give her a good hard scrubbing and put her in your dishwasher. You'll be just fine. You'll have to scrub it again afterwards to get all the rust off it, but you'll be doing good. Hoping to get an answer next week on a BSR square skillet and 2 corn sticks. Cool. It's nice when you get a pair of corn stick pans the same size. Then you can put one on top of the other, and you can make a full round corn cob. It's pretty neat, and that's what I do with the making corn dogs too. But you can make just a round full ear of corn, which looks pretty slick. Or you can do brownies in them, and they look just like turds. It'd be just the thing for Halloween. Have a big plate full of turd-looking brownies. You don't like the sound of that. Oh well. The 1109s go for around $85 to $100. It's been a while since I bought a round griddle. Yeah, I got a couple. No, more than a couple. I got a couple of Griswolds and a Wagner. And I think I got one favorite too. But it's been a while since I've actually bought one. But I think this was for all three of those, I want to say 55 around there. 50, $60, if I remember rightly, offhand. So not too bad of a deal then, especially for a plated hammered one. Kind of hard to tell with the pictures that it was hammered. It's got that buildup on there. You can't really see the dimples too good, but they show through just enough, and you can tell it was plated anyway. So I probably would have got it just because it was nickel plated. But yeah, it was nice that it's hammered too. You'd love to confuse my followers one day. Well, they're not easily confused. Most of them got a pretty good idea of what's going on. And people who are new to cast iron and haven't really learned yet, they can usually tell somebody's being sarcastic. And if they don't, somebody will fill them in right. Honestly, you shouldn't put cast iron in a dishwasher because it stays hot and wet. They got kind of a steam cycle to them usually. Even without that, they stay hot, they stay damp for a long time, and it'll definitely make your cast iron rust. I mean, that's one of the few things you can actually do wrong with cast iron. Most of the things you hear about taking care of cast iron, there's a lot of old wives' tales, a lot of myths, but most of them are harmless. I mean, it's just a matter of personal preference. You can wash it with soap and water. I do all the time. And, oh, you mean with my impression of me? Yeah, you probably could fool a fair number of people if they weren't expecting it. The hammer's probably worth a lot more. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, you don't see a lot of hammered griddles, whether it's Griswold or Wagner. You just don't see very many hammered ones. Mud, you don't collect BSR, do you? I don't really collect it. I got a few pieces. I got some BSR stuff, but I never really set about trying to collect them. What's the deal with Buzzy Wax? Yeah, it works good. I use Easy Beezy for my first round of seasoning usually, and that works good too. A lot of the beeswax based seasonings, you get a nice base coat, and they seal up the iron good, and then you go ahead and start using it, and it works nice. I'm happy with it. But anyways, going on, most of your myths about caring for cast iron, yeah, you can wash it in soap and water. That's no big deal. Just dry it good, put it on the stove, and re-oil it when you're done. If you want to, you can scrub it with a half a potato and kosher, coarse salt. All kinds of different things you can do with them. Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just a matter of choice. I was under the impression that anything made in the USA was 1964 or newer. Is that true? More or less, it was in the early 60s, Congress passed a law that you have to identify the country of origin. Before that, most American made stuff wasn't marked made in USA. But afterwards, yeah, it didn't happen right in 1964. I think the law was passed in like 1962 and took effect in 63. But 64, 65, 66, most of the cast iron manufacturers phased in the made in USA marking. So generally anything that says made in USA was made after about 1964 or 65. Lighten up, everyone. Well, I didn't know everybody's getting too heavy. We tend to be a pretty lighthearted group around here. Just don't use Dawn Power Wash on it. It does take some of the seasoning off. Okay, I haven't tried the Dawn Power Wash, but the regular Dawn dish soap works just fine. Doesn't cause any problems or strip any of the seasoning off. I suppose a power wash's got a little more alkali to it to help break up grease better. The soap and made in USA creates chaos on cast iron sites. Yeah, I mean some people are dead set against using soap on cast iron, and there's actual sense behind that that myth or old wives' tale, whatever you want to call it, because back in the old days when you were using homemade lye soap, it would usually have a bit of residual lye in it. So it tended to be kind of harsh. And the lye would actually, strip off seasoning off your cast iron. But modern detergents, your basic liquid dish soap doesn't have any lye in it, so it's not gonna strip anything off. Yeah, made in USA. Like I say, it wasn't right in 1964. All of a sudden, everything had made in USA on it. But for the first year or two after that, they started phasing it in. So you can definitely place it mid 60s and newer if it says made in USA. Made in Canada, though, they pretty much always use that even back in the 1800s. A lot of the Canadian manufacturers had said made in Canada right on them, even in the early, late 1800s, early 1900s. So it didn't, it didn't, you can't use that to date Canadian stuff. If you don't have a lye bath, can you use drain cleaner with lye? Most drain cleaners are lye based. Some of them have aluminum powder in them, so when it hits the water, the aluminum will react with the lye and will foam and expand, making like an expanding foam in the pipe and kind of clean the pipes better because it gets in contact with everything. But your Red Devil, is one of the brand names, but your 100% lye drain cleaners are what you use to make a lye bath. But instead of drain cleaner, I would just use the yellow cap oven cleaner. I mean, that has lye in it, and it doesn't have, some of them do have, some of the drain cleaners have some fairly funky chemicals in them that you don't want to play around with too much. Just use a regular oven cleaner instead of a drain cleaner with lye, unless it's a 100% lye drain cleaner. Mom always simmered water in a cast iron pan, then wiped it with a paper towel to clean it. Yeah, that works good too. I mean? I just, if it's got a little bit of stuck on stuff, I just leave it sitting in a sink of soapy water for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, and the stuff will wipe right off too with a washcloth. The product difference between detergent and soap. Detergent works in any water temperature. Soap only works in warmer temps. Okay. I didn't know that. I mean, I know most soap is usually lye and fat based, where detergents, they use different alkalis and different types of oils. That's what your wife does, mud. Yeah, I mean, you can soak them clean. Like I said, there's a million ways of cleaning them. Even, like if you fry an egg and there's nothing stuck to the pan, all you gotta do is pour off the oil and wipe it out good with a paper towel, and you're done. So if you don't need to, if you don't need to do any scrubbing on it, don't. I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything. A little bit of, just wiping it out good, and it'll be fine. Lye does work better the warmer it is. Yeah, if it's you got your lye bass sitting out in the sun on a summer day, it's definitely going to peel the stuff off faster than if it's cold. And electrolysis works a bit better when it's warmer too. I've noticed during the summer it seems to work a bit faster than it does when it starts getting cold out. Like I said, I got maybe one more week of using my my electrolysis bath before I got to dump her out for the winter. And then after that, I'll start using vinegar for the stuff I have to do. But yeah, the simmering water in them, that works pretty good too. You don't have to, boil it, but just bring her up to a simmer and let the water loosen up the baked on stuff. And a lot of times just deglazing the pan, if you make a pan sauce, that'll knock loose any burnt on stuff too. That's kind of the point of it. If you make like a pan sauce for your steak, you usually add, once you got your steak done, take it out, you add some broth or something like that, and it'll boil up and knock all the stuff off the bottom. Under 70 lies close to useless. I've used it a lot colder than that. It takes longer, but it still works. Yeah, I've used them down in the 30s and 40s with a lye bass sitting out on the porch, and it works good. But it definitely works better when it's the warmer it is. Room temperature and above, is a lot more ideal. Becky G, $10. Woo, generous girl. For kitty treats and toys. Oh, thank you. She'll appreciate that. Like I say, she was here a minute ago, but she's taken off. Let's see. Sorry, Yammy. Been away from the keyboard because you're heating up dinner. Out of curiosity, would a cast iron make a good slow cooker, or that'd be more of a Dutch oven? I love your slow cooker, but I noticed that the material, let's see here, kind of run out of space there. I've never seen a cast iron slow cooker. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one either. I've seen them with the the crock liners, but I don't think I've ever seen a cast iron slow cooker. They might be, but using a Dutch oven, you can definitely use it for a slow cooker. Just put it in the oven, at 250 or whatever, something like that. Some low temperature, and let it go slowly. Most of your crock pots and your slow cookers, they just heat on the sides. They don't really heat on the bottom. They just heat the sides, and slow cooks it from there. With the Dutch oven, it'll heat all the way around. It'll be a little bit faster, so you can probably use a little bit lower temperature. You'd have to experiment a bit with it, but a Dutch oven in the oven would definitely make a good crock pot type of thing. How about boiling water with baking soda? I wouldn't use that on cast iron, on regular, bare iron cast iron, because it is alkali and it will it'll strip the seasoning, not as fast as lye will, but it will attack the seasoning some. But boiling water with baking soda works really good for taking stains off of enameled cast iron. If you got a lot of nasty staining on the enamel, fill it up with water, bring it to a simmer, and add, it's kind of hard to judge how big, depends on how big the pot is, about a quarter cup or so of baking soda and let that simmer for a while, and it'll definitely take the stains out of enameled cast iron. Got a lye bath in your basement too. Works good for you. Yeah, during the winter, during the summer, I set everything up out on the porch because it's nice because I can just hose things off when I take it out of the lye bath and just rinse it off good with a hose. But in the winter, I set up the lye bath and I'll set up a vinegar bath too, right in the bathroom because it's tile floor. If you get a drip or two, you can just wipe it up. It ain't gonna hurt nothing. Cynthia Wesley has an electric cast iron skillet. I've seen those, and what's the name? Country Charm, I think was the brand name for a lot of them. It's a cast iron skillet. It's got feet on it, and it's got a electric heating element. You plug in your cast iron skillet. And I've seen them go for ridiculous prices. I mean, 150, 200 bucks for one. And there was one I was going to bid on, and I got busy or I was working that night and I spaced it out. Damn thing only went for, it didn't sell. I mean, they didn't get any bids on it. Said it worked. Got no bids on it and never saw it relisted. But I've seen them go for anywhere from 20 bucks to 200. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. But I would like to have one. I mean, that'd be kind of a neat thing to have. Alton Brown has a great video on cast iron Dutch ovens. Goes into the science of it. I'd like to see that. I'll have to look that up. Yeah, you can do a lot with with a Dutch oven. I mean, they're great for baking bread, for making roasts, all kinds of things with them. And you can cook slow with them. I mean, you can one of these days I'm going to try and just kind of slow cook something in a Dutch oven on the top of the wood stove. Put it off over on the cooler part, where it's going to be 200 degrees or so, and just let it slow cook just to see how it does. But you use them in campfires, all kinds of things. Then there's French ovens too, which is basically a Dutch oven, but instead of piling coals on top of the lid, you pour water on it, so it keeps it cooler, so you can slow cook things with it. And usually they're oval, and pretty much all the ones I've seen, they're either Le Creuset, made right in France, or they were Canadian. One of them would be kind of cool. Looking forward to this weekend live auction with 2 Griswold number 2s and 4 Wagners. Cool. Number 2s. I mean, you seldom see them. They were never a common. They didn't sell big. There weren't a whole lot of them made. So pretty much any number 2 you come across is going to be rare and expensive. I mean, if you can get it for a good price, definitely want to grab one. Let's see. Got a new brass fire hose nozzle for your hose, spraying off iron out of the lye. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to do it out on the deck because you can just, pull it out of the lye and just hose it off. And you got decent water pressure. It'll definitely blast the stuff right off of them. Let's see here. Smash the like button. Yeah, go ahead. It always helps. $299. Wouldn't pay $2 to deal with the weight. Yeah. I have the electric cauldron by the same company. That would be cool too. I've never seen an electric cauldron, but yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure the name was Country Charm, Country something like that. And it's basic. Looked like a number 8 size cast iron frying pan. It's just that it's got an electric heating element in the bottom and got legs to get it up off the counter. And usually they had a lid too. Like I say, I mean, I've seen the prices all over, but they usually go for a pretty good price, but I've seen them go cheap as hell too sometimes. Like I say, I mean, I'm just kicking myself because I can't remember if I was working that night and forgot about it or just forgot about it, that it was up that night, and nobody bid on the damn thing. I could have got it for $9.95. There's a lot of fake number twos out there. Yeah, I bet there are a lot of fake number twos, and the toy size ones especially people seem to be faking those quite a bit. The number 0 or 00 toy sized ones. If knowing what you know now had an opportunity to go back in time and get a pan and bring it back to the current time, what would I bring back new? I'd have to think about that. I mean, you could definitely go back and pick up an eerie spider, something like that with an original label on it would be worth a fortune nowadays. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff that they were doing in the late 1800s. The odorless skillets and a lot of different ideas running around. So it'd be kind of hard to pick one thing, or even 10 things if you really think about it. Like I say, I've shown you pictures of it in that Majestic cookbook and catalog. It's a big oval steak griddle. It's a gridiron. It's got the open slats in it where you put two steaks between. It's like a waffle iron. They also made a waffle iron for it. It's a big oval base. You take the eyes out of your stove, set it down over that, and it flips over. It's got an oval waffle iron. Then it's got the oval, steak basket for it. I'd love to have something like that. I'd definitely grab one of them. And it originally had a tin lid that went over the top of it, so it would draw the smoke and fumes from the steak down into the, out through the stove, out through the draft. But there's a lot of different stuff I could think of that'd be pretty cool. But I think back in the late 1800s, some of the oddball stuff that they were playing around with and experimenting with would definitely be worth going back to get if you could. Like I say, from a purely economic point of view, a Griswold, an eerie spider that still had the original label, if they had labels on them at all to begin with. But if it had an original label on it, something like that would, like I say, that'd be worth a fortune. If you had one that was pristine with the paper label on it, 8,000-10,000 for something like that wouldn't be surprising. Country Charm, yeah, that's the name. Couldn't remember if it was Country Charm, Country House, something like that. It was Country something. But I'd like to have one of them too. I mean, it'd be kind of cool. Got to admit, you said you got a new air fryer. I've never tried them. I mean, I guess there's a lot of stuff that is really good in an air fryer. Some stuff that really isn't. A hotel waffle maker. Yeah, that's kind of like what I was thinking about. I don't have the catalog handy, or I'd show you a picture of it. But it's a big oval one. Probably a foot long. Probably about that big around. But some of the hotel waffle makers, they had 3 or 4 square or round waffle irons in the same base. Those are pretty neat. It just zipped through my head. I was thinking of something else while I was saying that, but those would be pretty cool. Wapak Indian, yeah, that'd definitely be a good one to get a hold of. After using oven cleaner, is just using soap and water okay to clean it up with? Yeah. Lye rinses pretty freely. I mean, it's really water soluble. It washes off good, especially with a little bit of soap. And the oven cleaners are the same way. Just give it a good scrubbing with hot soapy water and you'll be fine. What am I sipping on? That's bourbon. This one here, I got some Wild Turkey, but this is actually, my sister gave me a bunch of Jim Beam decanters. And you can't really sell them if they're still full. Some of them are still full, so I've poured them off into a bottle and been drinking on them. Might keep a couple of them full just because they're nicer ones, but these are some of the little bit more, they're not hugely rare ones, so definitely drink some old bourbons worthwhile. Somebody almost put their number 6 BSR Century in their giveaway pile. You laughed. Yeah, shouldn't have laughed. Should have just grabbed it out of their giveaway pile. Now that you got your laptop, you can type better. What'd you miss? You missed damn near everything, Yammy. Oh, just the usual kind of chatter and answering questions. Like to go back in time and trade some hippie a cheese sandwich for their steal your face lodge skillet. Okay. I have a couple of centuries, but still looking for the Red Mountain. Number 6, you mean? Yeah, haven't seen. I just saw a. They said it was a number 4. Looked like a 1-notch lodge with a raised 4 on the handle. Went for $100, and that was kind of nice. I mean, that would be definitely worth. This summer, you put 8 pans in a vinegar bath. One was a Martin that you liked. Missed it when he cleaned out the tank. It almost fell apart and very upset. Yeah, you can leave things in vinegar for too long. I mean, the acid in the vinegar will keep on eating away. Usually overnight doesn't hurt, especially if it's really rusty. But you don't want to go much longer than that. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, we should only put it in for an hour at a time and wash it off and check it." You know, you can, but overnight generally doesn't cause much problems. But yeah, you don't want to leave them in there all summer. Let's see, you're new here. I'd like to find out about a pan. It's a number 3 hammered with a very flat bottom. The only numbers are number 3 at the top of the handle and 3 dots on the bottom of the handle. It's kind of hard to say right offhand. It could be an ugly hammered. If the handle looks, well, on number 3s, they're not really stubby looking. But if the dimples are kind of shallow and kind of random looking, it's probably an ugly hammered. Nobody knows who made them. You know, might have been 2 or 3 different companies that made them actually. But they call them ugly hammered because it's, you know, kind of an ugly hammering job. They're usually kind of heavy for their size, a little kind of chunky looking. If it has you can't really see it on this very good. I don't have another hammered Wagner. If it has kind of a almost looks like a leopard print kind of hammering style to it, if the dimples have kind of, like I say, you know, sort of a leopard print look to them, it could be a hammered Wagner. A lot of the Wagners weren't marked, the hammered ones. So just, you know, and Wagner was known to put dots sometimes on the bottom side of the handles. But also a lot of the ugly hammered ones had dots to it. Basically, if it has, you know, kind of neat leopard print looking hammered marks to it, I would say it's probably a Wagner ware. If they're kind of shallow and funky looking indistinct hammered marks, I'd say it's an ugly hammered. I like the way you drink. Yeah, I generally, you know, drink liquor straight, maybe a little bit of sip of water afterwards. You know, like good scotch, you know, a sip of whiskey and a sip of ice water back really, really tastes good to me anyway. And go back in time and tell the guys at Black Lock to use a mini lock on their pans just to make them worth more. Don't leave them unmarked. Yeah, the Black Lock skillets, I think, were all unmarked. You know, there's some that they figure might have been Blacklock or early Lodge. It's kind of hard to say. But some of the Dutch oven lids said Blacklock on them, so those you can definitely tell. But the skillets, they've never really positively identified if it was, the last few years of Blacklock or the first few years of Lodge. Well, shit, you blame me. Well, it probably is my fault anyway. Found a little cock that's cast iron, but not as big as the one I have. Well, most folks don't have one quite as big as my magnificent cock. You can see him right there. Right there. I've seen over the years your older relatives have cast iron, but they never want to get rid of them, even if it looks like it should be thrown out. When should one throw out cast iron? When it's in pieces, maybe. Sometimes then you might be able to save it too, but generally, as long as it isn't, smashed into a million pieces, cast iron never really wears out. I mean, you can strip it down, clean it up, and you're good to go again for another century or so. But yeah, unless it's broken beyond repair, there's no real reason to throw out cast iron. You can it's not like Teflon coated aluminum where the Teflon wears off and gets pretty useless after that. But generally, yeah, cast iron will last for centuries and centuries. I mean, I've got stuff that's 125, 150 years old, and it's perfectly usable, and it'll still be usable 150 years from now. So yeah, you should never, unless there's a damn good reason to, like it being broken into a bunch of pieces, you should never throw cast iron out because you can just strip it, reseason it, good to go again. Use your birthday gift cards to get a 16-quart Presto canner. Never really for cooking food. Never tried canning. Yeah, I've never really tried pressure cooking things. I mean, I've always used them for pressure canning. One of these days I will. I went to I was going to mention that earlier. I went to our local grocery store has a meat sale twice a year, and you can get cases of stuff, big whole pieces of meat, things like that. I got a 40-pound box of chicken drumsticks. I like drumsticks, so that was pretty good. I got a beef shoulder clod, and yeah, it's a hell of a clod of meat. It's like 16 pounds, probably about that long, about that big around. That's the chunk of meat they usually cut things like arm roasts and arm steaks out of. And it's a hell of a nice chunk of meat. I'll probably cut that up later on tonight. Get her chunked up into a roast, maybe some steaks. Kind of depends on what it looks like once I get it cleaned up and get some of the excess fat peeled off and see which way it's going. But it's 15 pounds of meat and it was $3.50 a pound. I think I paid $50 for a 15-pound chunk of beef, which is pretty good. And they got a lot of other frozen stuff. It's a big deal. It's a big draw. The store is just packed pretty much all day long. It's a one-day sale. So, have some nice roasts and things like that. And see how that goes. Let's see here. Thank you. Sounds like an ugly hammered. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't have either one right close to hand or I'd show you the difference. But yeah, the ugly hammered, they're popular. Nobody knows quite who made them. But yeah, they got a definite appeal. They're kind of heavy, kind of crude, kind of chunky, but people love them. The skillets, the skillets are fairly reasonable. The ugly hammered Dutch ovens and chicken fryers go for a pretty good penny. They usually go for 125, 150 with the lids for them. But you can get the ugly hammered skillets, pretty reasonable price. And they're nice skillets. I mean, they're heavy, but they work really good. They cook good, and people love them. I mean, they got a definite following. If you go back in time, you like to meet the guys who put the makers marked on Erie skillets, like the Anchor, the Daisy. Yeah, those were the pattern makers marks. They used to put their personal mark on the patterns that they made. Let's see here. But if it yammy again, if it has rust and completely color, like not as black, is all gone, how would you even restore that? Restoring cast iron isn't hard. The first thing you want to do is you want to strip off the old seasoning, any buildup, black carbonized grease, all that. There's a couple, three ways you can do it. If you have just one or two pans to do, the easiest way is you spray it down with heavy duty, easy off oven cleaner. Comes in a yellow can, has a yellow cap. Spray down a heavy coat of that, put it in a plastic bag, let it sit for a couple of days. Give her a good scrubbing. If it still needs more stuff off, just spray it down again, and repeat the process until it's clean. That'll get all the buildup off. It won't take rust off. Rust, you can use a vinegar bath. Mix up half white vinegar, half water, soak it in there for a couple hours, pull it out, scrub it off. Keep repeating that process until it's clean, and then you reseason it. You can also use an electrolysis tank. That'll take the buildup off and the rust off at the same time. Might take a day or two, depending on how much buildup is on it. A lye bath, you mix up lye crystals and water and throw it in there. That'll strip the crud and the buildup and the old seasoning off of it. But it's very seldom that iron is too far gone that it can't be restored. If it's really rusted and really pitted, it might not be attractive, but it'll still work good. I mean, you can definitely use heavily pitted cast iron for quite a long time, and it doesn't really hurt anything. But yeah, you can usually, restore cast iron from pretty much any condition into something usable again. Yeah, the one cast iron, you try to keep it in good shape, pretend to forget to reseason it. Yeah, you don't have to, strip and reseason it in the oven very often, if at all, once you've seasoned it. Just with normal use, wash it. You wash it in the sink, a little hot soapy water, a stainless steel scrubbing pad. If it's got a lot of buildup on it, you let it soak and wash it off. Then just put it on the stove, wipe it dry, put it on the stove top, warm it up, and wipe it down with whatever cooking oil you normally use. Give it a thin coat, wipe it down with that, and let it cool off, and wipe it again. You don't want too much oil on there because it'll get sticky eventually. But just a real thin coat of oil, and that's it. And just keep using it. Most of your seasoning comes from using it. Not anything you do in the oven. The first, when you start with bare iron, yeah, you can put 20 coats of seasoning on it in the oven, but what really seasons the pan is using it. I mean, all these, dozens and hundreds of pans I got around here, I try and rotate through the ones that I've got ready to use and just use them every now and then. And that keeps them in really good shape. Yeah, a lot of great information in this group. Yeah, I mean, just hang around here. Yeah, I mean, you'll learn what you need to know. If I don't know something, there's sure as hell somebody else in the comments does. And I've learned tons of stuff from the comments, and that's how you learn is people sharing information. You found a Baltimore 1 gallon pot from the 1700s. Yeah, like I say, 300-year-old cast iron, it'll work just as good as something that was made last week. But yeah, we've been at this, going over a little bit. We're at 1 hour and 5 minutes. A little bit longer than I usually go, but that ain't too bad. Yeah, it gave me a hammered hinge top that I needed. Yeah, folks here, we kind of trade things back and forth now and then. I'll probably end up giving away that nickel plated Wagner that came with the number 7. Yeah, it's not the prettiest thing, but it's definitely a usable pan. Okay, you guys keep saying ugly hammered, but what does this ugly hammered look like? Let me see. Do I have anything really handy that I can pull out quick? Hammered. Let me try and find something hammered fast here that's convenient. Hang on a second. Where is all my hammered stuff? Don't have anything right close to hand on top of a pile. But hammered cast iron, they call it a hammered finish. It has little dimples in it. And it's hard to see because these are kind of full of stuff. But you see there's kind of a little dimpled, so you can find a little cleaner spot there. It's kind of a dimpled surface to that. And there's some that are, pretty much everybody made a hammered style of cookware at some point. The ugly hammered, they have kind of an indistinct, kind of random pattern to the hammer marks. And they're kind of ugly. And they're usually a heavy, kind of chunky, kind of crude looking skillet, which is why they call them ugly hammered. They're not sure who the manufacturer was. And it seems like there might have been a couple of different companies that made them. Most likely in the northeastern part of the U.S. But they call them ugly because, like I say, this, even though you can't really see it all that well, has a fairly regular, even hammered pattern to it. And the ugly ones were, kind of a random, indistinct, somebody pounded dents in it. But yeah, that's the basic difference. Maybe next week I'll have to show some of the different hammered ones again. I've done that before, but that seems like kind of a good topic, and by then that should be cleaned up. And I can show you some of the different styles of hammered stuff. So if you show up next week, Yami, I'll show you what hammered stuff looks like. Dumb question. Can you just use Easy Off on the inside of a Dutch oven to get the crud off? The outside's fine, but the inside needs help. Yeah. You can just spray the inside, put it in a plastic bag, or you can just do the outside or just do the bottom sometimes if you want to. But yeah, you can definitely just do the inside with spraying the Easy Off on it. Made your railroad pie in the Dutch oven is really good. Yeah, that turned out pretty good. And yeah, I'll be doing some more cooking here over the winter, especially once I got the wood stove going. But anyway, I'm gonna try and get to the end of the comments here and wrap this up for the night. If you're rotated, it'd take like 2 years to get back to the first one. Yeah, I try to work my way through everything, but it's going to take a while to get back to the same ones. Are aerosol oil sprays worse than liquid? I don't really use the aerosol, so I don't know. I do use Baker's Joy for when I'm cooking something in a mold. It works good. That's a aerosol oil with flour in it, and it works really good for coating, cake pans, that sort of thing. But other than that, I don't really use the spray oil, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, come back next week, Yummy, and I'll do a little bit on hammered stuff, show you some of them things. And it's kind of like I say, it's kind of nice, because everybody likes hammered things, and pretty much every company made some. Some's more common than others, but definitely interesting stuff. All right. Anyway, we've been at this for over an hour. You got an extra 10 minutes out of me this week, so I'll see you guys next week, and yeah, we'll show Yami some hammered stuff just for the fun of it. And hope you enjoyed the show. See you guys next week, and I'll see you then. Bye.